Should you be wasting your money on getting organic food, or should you actually be allocating a budget to get more organic food? Well, I hope that this video clears this up, because organic is not everything that it's made out to be. There's some foods that you absolutely should get organic, and there's some foods that, quite frankly, you would be wasting your money. So I'll break it all down and I'll make it simple. But it is important that you know that organic is generally it's just something that companies work really hard to get a particular certification on. Does that mean that it's not worth the paper it's written on? No, absolutely not. It's definitely worth something, because it means that foods are generally going to be non-GMO and they're going to be treated without pesticides. Okay, when you look at the pesticide world, that's a big thing to pay attention to. Pesticides, for the most part, a lot of them are known carcinogens. A lot of them are very scary, and very, very scary when you get into the pediatric world. So not necessarily things you want to be feeding your kids, but it all comes down to the nature of the actual food itself. Okay, what's going to absorb more of those pesticides? What's going to cross-react with them? And then when we look in the world of like organic livestock, okay, there's a lot of variables there. Okay, when you look at meat, for instance, organic simply means that it's never going to be fed any hormones or anything like that. It's never going to be given antibiotics, and it's generally going to be fed organic grains, right? Well, if you watch my videos a lot, you know that the grains themselves, whether they're organic or not, are going to lead to a poor fatty acid profile of the meat in the first place. So I would argue that when it comes down to meat, just look at the label and make sure that it doesn't have antibiotics and doesn't have hormones, whether it's organic or not, and opt for grass-fed, grass-finished. That's just plain and simple. Now, again, when you get into poultry and things like that, you just have to evaluate and dig a little bit deeper as to what the animal is being fed, more so than if it has the organic certification or not, because arguably it doesn't make a huge difference as long as they're eating the right thing and the fatty acid profile is good and they're not given the hormones. And before I dive into the list of foods, it's also important to know that when you look at any kind of packaged food that is organic, you still need to look at the label, because they're allowed to have 5% of the ingredients be non-organic. Now, a lot of damage can be done with an ingredient that is used in less than 5%. For example, if a pesticide or something is in there, it's not going to be 10% of a food, it's going to be 1%. But that 1% could still absolutely hurt you, right? So it's very important that you look at the ingredient list and make sure that all the ingredients are organic, because they can have some that are non-organic. And you can always go to the Environmental Working Group, EWG, and they have a constantly evolving list of foods that you should focus on getting organic or non-organic. And a lot of the information I'm talking about today can also be found there. I do want to make sure you hit that red subscribe button and then hit that little bell icon as well, so that you always get notifications whenever I'm posting up new videos. Okay, let's start with the foods that you need to be getting organic. All right, I will go ahead and I will put meat up there on that list, because whenever possible, if you can get a good deal on organic or local raised meat, you are going to be better off, because the lion's share of the meat that isn't organic is also fed a bunch of grains and a bunch of soy and is garbage in the first place. But I'm not going to beat a dead horse with that one. Let's go ahead and let's move on to the next one. Strawberries are spongy little friends. Now, technically, fun fact, strawberries are the ovaries of a plant, believe it or not. Yep, the little seeds are the seeds, and the strawberry berry itself is actually the ovary. But that's kind of weird. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. Point is, strawberries soak up a bunch of pesticides. And because they sit so low to the ground, they are usually heavily sprayed with pesticides. So this is one of the things at the top of the list that you need to be getting organic whenever you possibly can, because even if you get non-organic and you wash them, you're not going to get all those pesticides off. Okay, number 2, we go to spinach. If you look closely at spinach, you'll notice it's spongy, right? Well, that means because it's spongy, it's soaking up those pesticides. And again, even if we wash it, we can't really get it out. And what happens with spinach that we cook? Well, the sponginess goes away and all those pesticides leach out into the oil or whatever you're cooking it in. Very, very dangerous when it comes down to the world of spinach. So just opt for organic spinach, and it's going to make your life a lot easier. Most of the spinach has 1.1 to 1.8 times the pesticide residue of any other leafy green. But now let's talk about another leafy green, kale. Quite frankly, there's not a huge reason for you to be eating kale. Where it came out that kale is this amazing superfood, I don't know. It's not that high in chlorophyll. It's not that nutrient dense. It's mechanically very hard to digest, and it's kind of gross. Most people don't like kale. And the point is, 60% of kale has a pesticide known as DCPA, which is one of the worst pesticides out there, been banned in Europe, and is an absolute known carcinogen. Okay, 92% of kale in general has pesticide residue. So that means almost any kale that you're going to find out there is going to have some pesticides in it. Granted, you can wash it off for the most part, but if you're really not getting that much of a nutrient benefit, why would you even try to get it in the first place? So just either get it organic or just don't get it at all. Then when it also comes to the organic, we've got the peppers, we've got tomatoes, and we've got celery. Okay, plain and simple, just try to get those organic. Those are the big ones. And then when it comes to any kind of prepackaged foods, things like that, definitely try to go organic, because then you're not getting all the additional components, all the different toxins and weird things that are going into a lot of packaged foods. I will say, if you want to try a lot of good organic food, I do have a link down to Thrive Market. So Thrive Market's an online grocery store, so a membership-based grocery store. I talk about them in my videos all the time. They have a bunch of different organic options, so like organic seaweed snacks, organic dried fruit, things like that. So if you're looking for good organic snacks to have around the house that are easy to get and relatively inexpensive, you're gonna wanna check them out. So I put a link down below where I have my specific bundles. So whether it's keto, whether it's fasting, whether it be hormone optimization, just different bundles that I've assembled in the way of groceries that I would like to get or I would like to see my audience get. So make sure you check them out. There's a link down below, but after you watch the rest of this video. Okay, so this next batch is gonna be foods that you should save your money on. Okay, foods that you shouldn't be going out and getting organic, foods that you can do fine with just getting regular standard. 70% of the foods that are in the overall Clean 15 list that's set up by the EWG have no pesticide residues whatsoever. So number one is gonna be our friend the avocado, okay, the poster child of keto. Yep, less than 1% of avocados end up having pesticide residue. And the funny thing is, organic avocados are like 2 to 3 times the price of regular avocados. So just go regular avocados, save your money, especially if you're doing keto and you're afraid that the avocados are gonna be too expensive. The next ones are gonna be any ones that have a tough outer skin. Okay, so things like an onion, okay, those are usually protected. You might be eating a lot of those on keto for the good prebiotic fibers. Then we get into the fruits, right? We get into the things like the kiwis, we get into the melons, we get into the pineapple, the papayas, the guavas, the mangoes, things that quite frankly are so high in sugar you shouldn't really be consuming them anyway, but those, they have a hard outer shell and you're usually good to go and don't need to spend the money on going organic with that. Then we move into one of my favorite keto vegetables, which is the asparagus world. Okay, asparagus, you are totally fine to go non-organic. That's what's cool. Organic asparagus can be like $6, $7 for a bunch. Regular asparagus is like 1 to 3. Save the money, go the non-organic route. I hope this is at least helping you out and saving you some money. Okay, then another one, broccoli and cauliflower. You don't need organic, at least here in 2020. That's what's cool, is when we're constantly looking at the research, we can see that these things evolve, but broccoli and cauliflower grow pretty well and do not have an issue with insects in the first place, so they have a low degree of pesticides anyway. And if you wash it, you're usually good to go. Then another one is going to be eggplant, and lastly, the vitamin D powerhouse, mushrooms. People will often think that they need to wash the heck out of mushrooms, which quite frankly, you should probably wash them, but you don't need to be worrying about pesticides. Fungus will grow in anywhere. I mean, it's going to grow in your closet if you let it. So the point is, it's going to grow. They don't need to add a bunch of pesticides to make sure that it grows safely outside of insects and things like that. Simply put, save your money where you can and spend a couple extra bucks where you really should be. As always, keep it locked in here on my channel. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to our sponsors for keeping this channel alive, and I will see you in the next video.